starting to think whoever is running this club has a humiliation fetish. We are so incompetent. I was starting to believe for a second there that, like, you know, there was maybe like a bit of a plan. Now, once again, we have all the journalists giving it the same old spiel as last summer, the same old judge the window in September, and trying to save face for the club by saying like, oh, there's nothing we could have done. We had a fee agreed. It wasn't our fault. Yes, it fucking was our fault. And no, I won't wait until September to judge this absolute shit stain of a fucking circus that this club is. I'm not going to allow this absolute shit show to give me any sort of false hope again. I'm not making that mistake again. I wasn't particularly the most positive anyway because we still got Eddie Howe in charge. But like, as I said, I was starting to believe there was some sort of plan. So let's start with what more could we have done? Because that's what the journalists are saying. That's what the club are apparently saying. Oh, well, we did everything we could. We had the fee agreed. What more could we have done? It's not our fault. Like, this has happened so many times now. You'd think by the 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th time, they'd start to learn to start operating a little bit fucking differently. Instead of sitting there like a bunch of fucking simps, for once, maybe we should just start acting like a self-respecting fucking club. So I'll tell you what we could have done. Instead, I'll set out a step-by-step fucking plan of exactly what should have been done instead, because, well, what could we have done? It wasn't our fault. I'll tell you what you could have fucking done. First of all, stop leaking everything to the fucking press every single time we have any kind of deal going on. And if it's not us that's leaking it to the press, if it's the agents instead, then just set a fucking boundary. You just say to the agent from the offset, no leaks to the press. If there's a leak to the press, we're gone. We're not part of that. We're not interested anymore. Other clubs seem to manage to do it. Nobody knew that Barcelona were in for Gordon. Apparently, agents had been talking about that for months. By the time anyone knew about that, it was pretty much already signed and done because they're a club that acts like a serious fucking club. Another thing you could do, you put a time limit on decisions. So when a player or an agent, when you've gone in for them, when they've said, oh yeah, well, we think we're interested, but we're not sure, you just say, right, well, you've got a week to decide. Again, act like a self-respecting fucking club. If they don't decide within that week, right, we move on to our next target. Start acting like a club with a fucking plan. It's a pretty simple fucking rule. If it's not a yes, at least within the boundaries that you set, then it's a no. Move on. You can learn this just from fucking dating. You don't have to be a genius. If you're talking to a woman, she's holding back, she's not committing, you don't just sit there and be like, okay, you let your time, you let me know, and I'll be here waiting for you when you've decided. You simply say, all right, sound, nice knowing you, you move on. And that's what we should do. When an agent is leaking out, you know, our interest from the press, trying to drum up interest from other clubs, at that point, we're just like, yeah, not for us, mate. See ya, bye. When the agent's stalling the move for more time to get, you know, to give other clubs time to be interested, again, yeah, not for us. Move on. You don't just sit there like, okay, Vicky Boo, you let me know when you're ready. We simply just say, sound, we know what the game is here. We've had this happen to us multiple times. We're not interested. Move on to the next target. Start acting like a club with a bit of fucking self-respect. Like at this point, we may as well call ourselves fucking Cook FC. Oh, well, I know she was posting stories all the time trying to get all the other guys' attention, and I know that she would never commit to me or anything like that, but one day she was always going to come round to me, right? Fucking bunch of idiots. And actually, no, to be honest, right? As much as everything I've just said there, like in the ideal world, that would actually work. But realistically, we probably can't even do that because we actually have so little pulling power now that, like, what I'm essentially suggesting to do there is to sort of have a bit of confidence in what you have to offer. Again, to take it back to dating, right? If you're like talking to a girl and she's kind of giving you cold signals and stuff like that, you sit there and you think, you know what? I bring enough to the table here. I don't have to put up with this shit, and you move on. But the reality for us is actually that we have so little pulling power that, like, realistically, we probably do have to be a bunch of fucking simps to try and get anyone to be interested. Because realistically, at the moment, how do you sell this project? We've got completely fucking absent owners who are half asleep at the fucking wheel. Obviously, our chief scout just left. The project is essentially completely fucking dead. We've got a manager that every halftime team talk he puts out, the team get considerably worse. The shirt sponsorship deal was a regression. Actual performances on the pitch, like form, also in regression. Just finished 12th in the league. No Europe. We have an entirely fucking divided fan base. The player development of recent has been absolutely fucking woeful. It's throw Voltemada and Lewis Hall under the bus so that you can protect Jacob Murphy and Dan Burn. The literal only thing we have going for us at the moment is you can play alongside Bruno. That's it. Once he puts sentiment aside and realizes how much of an actual shit show we are, then we're fucked. Then we really are fucked. After 5 years, we've only just put together, apparently, a backroom staff. It also took us 5 years to get a training ground sponsor. We're 5 years in with still no real plan at all on a stadium. Like, I'm not sitting here and saying that we need a stadium built right now, but we have nothing, no real plan at all. And yet somehow, all of that, everything that I've just said there, all of that somehow is us on the path towards challenging for the top trophies in world football by 2030. We're in 2026, 4 fucking years away. Like, at this rate, we'll do well to get another fucking Carabao Cup by 2030. The club have tried to manipulate the way that this Muñoz deal has been put out in the media, and they tried to manipulate it into a way of, oh, well, we had a fee agreed, so therefore it's not our fault, and it's just on, there's nothing we could have done about it. And as I said, there was stuff we could have done about it, but also getting a fee agreed from the moment we knew that we were interested in this guy, getting a fee agreed took us 3 weeks when there was a 35 million release clause. If he's your top target, just fucking pay the release clause. Don't sit there negotiating the fee for 3 weeks out in the public as if you think you're in some sort of fucking vacuum and that nobody else is ever going to come to the table, despite the fact that we just spent the whole of last summer having all our targets taken off us by bigger clubs, and we're still 4th, 5th, 6th time into this, still sat there negotiating with clubs to try save ourselves 1 million, maybe 2 million here and there at best, and thinking, as I said, that we're acting in some sort of vacuum and that no one else is going to be like, actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll just go and get him instead. Like, who is responsible for this? Because honestly, it's fucking outrageous. It is outrageous that in one of the most competitive sports in the world, in one of the most competitive markets in the world, we're sat there thinking, well, we've got all the time in the world to get this deal done. All the time in the world. Nothing could possibly go wrong. After 5 or 6 times last season, it already went wrong. We couldn't have any more clear evidence that if you fuck about and don't get things done quickly, you will be fucked over. And we're just like, we don't fucking learn. Actually, there's even more to add to the list of why we have no pull. So everything that I said earlier of what we should do and we can't do because we have no pulling power, all the reasons why we have no pulling power, there's even more to add to it. So pretty much every year also, most of our best players are leaving. Obviously, Isak left last summer. Then last season, Gordon was our top goal scorer, also gone. And like, that's not me saying that we shouldn't have sold Gordon. We should have sold Gordon. It was the right time to sell Gordon. But it's still not really a good look that every single one of our best players seems to want out. Tonali wants out. It's starting to look like potentially Lewis Hall, boyhood fucking Newcastle fan, potentially even he wants out. And why do they all want out? Because nobody wants to play for Eddie Howe. Nobody wants to go through an entire season getting ran into the ground, getting injury after injury, going in at halftime and being told things that literally don't make things any better, being forced to play out of position, being scapegoated. Voltemada probably realistically wants out, but he's, you know, at least he's got the sort of like determination to try and give it his best for another year. Like, when you sign a manager, because this blows my mind that so many people were so against the idea of Jose Mourinho, right? Bear in mind, under Eddie Howe, we've never really played particularly good football. We've played athletic football and we've been a nuisance for oppositions playing like an underdog style of football. We've never really actually played good football. So when people look at Mourinho's style of play and people are like, oh, well, it's not good football. Yeah, it's not the most entertaining good football. Neither is Eddie Howe, so it doesn't fucking matter. But as I said, when you sign a manager, you're looking at what do they bring to that club? Like, what does that manager being at your club, what does it bring? What does it add, right? And there's nothing that gets worse when you put Mourinho in the job compared to Eddie Howe. What does get significantly better is that what I just said about pulling power, that goes from fucking here, Eddie Howe's pulling power, to here, Jose Mourinho's pulling power. So this is why I'm not going to judge the transfer window in September, and I'm going to exercise my fucking right to judge the club right now. As a fan, I have all the fucking right in the world to be pissed off with what I'm seeing. First of all, Eddie Howe should have been sacked towards the end of last season. As I've said a billion times, David Hopkinson came out and he said he expects to see a good run towards the end of the season. We were categorically utter fucking shite towards the end of the season, so that was a load of bollocks. And then since then, there's been a few murmurs of a few positive things of, you know, that Nick Pope won't be here at the start of next season and that we've signed a French second league goalkeeper. But then there's also the murmurs that we're now just sat there from afar being fucking simps again, just sat there looking at James Trafford like, oh, isn't he dreamy? Just sat there admiring from afar, and then, yeah, he's probably not going to fucking come either, is he? It's going to be a similar sort of situation that we'll be interested for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it'll get to the end of the fucking window, and chances are we'll have fucking Nick Pope still in goal. So I'll tell you what, instead of me judging in September, as they're asking me to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to judge right fucking now, as I said, that we are an absolute shit show, an absolute fucking circus, and what I will do is, if the club between now and September prove me wrong, well done, but it's on them to prove me fucking wrong, because right now we have well over a year's worth of evidence that we are ran like an absolute fucking circus. Realistically, talking about that Trafford deal, in light of the Victor Muñoz deal, the fact that the Trafford deal hasn't already been signed off and fucking agreed, the fact that they haven't just been like, right, get it done right now. The fact that that hasn't been done, it's been like 24 hours and we've been fucking following this guy for 3 years now. Pull your fucking finger out your ass and just get something fucking done. Stop sitting there like a bunch of fucking simps and just get something fucking done. Telling us to judge the window in September. We'll judge every single thing you fucking do as fans. And at the moment, everything's been shit. And until you give us some kind of reason to judge you positively, we will continue to judge you as a heap of fucking shit, useless idiots. Actually, another thought in terms of pulling power, I kind of touched on it. Tonali wants to leave. That's how little our pulling power is. Tonali wants to leave to Tottenham Hotspur. They've finished 17th 2 years in a row, and people would rather play for Tottenham Hotspur than Eddie Howe. I'm telling you right fucking now, that would not have happened if we'd have got rid of Eddie Howe and got in Jose Mourinho. And obviously Jose Mourinho's gone to Real Madrid now. Mental. Apparently he wasn't good enough for us, but he's good enough for Real Madrid. But Jose Mourinho has a soft spot for Newcastle. He has links to Sir Bobby. He's Sir Bobby's understudy. He loves Newcastle. And before Madrid came in, he would have jumped at the opportunity to sign for Newcastle. That could have been done. Anyway, I think I've said everything I need to say. I just got that off my chest. I'm honestly really fucking glad we have the World Cup on at the moment, because it's helping me kind of detach a little bit from the absolute shit show that this club is. Because like mentally, I could not do another summer like last summer if that was all I had to focus on in terms of football. Like, and the World Cup is giving me a nice break away from it. Like, if you watch my last video, that was about England, and I was quite happy in that video. It was quite nice. And then obviously this bunch of fucking morons just bring me straight back down to earth. So I'm going to keep doing World Cup videos as well throughout the summer. And obviously my last England video didn't do that well in terms of views because, you know, it's like a change of topic and people are expecting Newcastle videos from me, but I prefer to talk about actual football as opposed to transfer rumours and all that kind of stuff. So I would really appreciate it if people could go on and watch that video, the England video, because I think it was a really good video personally. But as I said, I understand why the views drop because it's a change of topic. But I would really appreciate if people can help kickstart me sort of being able to talk about different things as well as just Newcastle. I am always going to still be talking about Newcastle, so don't worry about me not doing that. But yeah, regardless of whether it does well on views or not, it's what I enjoy talking about. I don't enjoy just covering how shit we are in the transfer window. As I said, I much prefer just talking about actual football. So when the World Cup's on, I am going to continue to do that, even if it does shit for views. But yeah, please go show that video some love. It was a really good video, I think, anyway. Anyway, that's that all off my chest. Hopefully next time I get around to making a Newcastle video, hopefully we'll have done something that actually makes us not look like a fucking circus. I'm not going to hold my breath on that for obvious reasons, but until then, that's all the noise for this one. Until the next one.